You learned early that love wasn't guaranteed, it was earned. So you became good, not just well-behaved, but quietly flawless. You noticed the subtle changes in tone, the way warmth could turn cold with one mistake, and you learned to anticipate every shift. You became the peacekeeper, the helper, the one who never caused trouble. You learned that safety was found not in being yourself, but in being what others needed you to be. And over time, goodness became your armor, a silent language that said, "Please don't leave. Please don't get angry. Please don't stop loving me." It started innocently, a child trying to survive emotional weather they couldn't control. Maybe your parents fought, or love came with conditions. Maybe affection was tied to achievement, or silence was the only response to your pain. So you learned to manage the room, to shrink yourself just enough so others wouldn't explode. You learned to read micro-expressions before they even formed. You became hyper-vigilant, scanning faces for signs of danger, scanning your own words for traces of imperfection. You learned to smile when you were breaking, to say it's okay when it wasn't, to carry the emotional temperature of everyone around you. Being good was never really about morality. It was a survival strategy. It was how you made sure you wouldn't be abandoned or punished. Perfectionism and people-pleasing were the tools you used to keep chaos at bay. You performed stability to earn love, because love in your world was fragile, something that could vanish if you weren't careful enough. And so you built a version of yourself that was immaculate on the outside and quietly terrified on the inside. The child who learned to hold their breath every time someone sighed, the adult who still does. Perfectionism isn't pride, it's fear. It's the constant hum of "I'm not enough" dressed up as diligence. It's rewriting an email 10 times, not because you want it perfect, but because you fear what happens if it isn't. It's apologizing for existing in small ways, saying sorry when someone else bumps into you. It's cleaning the kitchen before anyone notices a mess, not because you love order, but because you equate it with peace. You learn that control could substitute for safety, that if you could just be good enough, quiet enough, perfect enough, no one would leave. But goodness comes at a cost. You start living as a mirror, reflecting others' needs so completely that you forget you have your own. You become fluent in everyone else's emotions and foreign to your own. Your nervous system doesn't rest, it performs. You become the caretaker, the listener, the one who never says no. And people admire you for it. They call you dependable, kind, selfless. They don't realize that every yes costs you a small piece of your voice. Sometimes people like you fall in love with brokenness, with those who need saving. Because that's the role you know how to play. You find yourself drawn to pain because you once believed your worth came from healing others. You confuse love with labor, compassion with self-erasure. You attract chaos because you were trained to find comfort in fixing it. And when the relationships crumble, you don't get angry. You get smaller. You tell yourself you should have tried harder, loved better, done more. You repeat the same story you learned as a child, that love disappears when you fail. This is the hidden ache of the good child, the quiet exhaustion of always being fine. You were praised for being mature, for being strong, for not needing much. But beneath that calm exterior lives the neglected inner child, one who was never allowed to be messy, needy, or angry. One who learned to suppress their emotions so others could keep theirs intact. That child didn't vanish. They just learned to hide behind competence, behind humor, behind control. Healing begins when you stop trying to earn love and start remembering that you deserved it all along. It begins when you realize that your goodness was never the problem. It was the disguise, the shell you built around your tenderness, the performance that kept you safe in unsafe places. You don't need to destroy it, you just need to see it for what it was, protection. The same way a scar once protected a wound. You can thank it, then outgrow it. Learning to set boundaries feels violent at first. Saying no feels like betrayal. Rest feels undeserved. You feel guilt where others feel relief. That's because your nervous system is wired to equate peace with danger, to mistake stillness for rejection. But slowly, through self-awareness, through therapy, through gentleness, you begin to rewrite that wiring. You begin to feel the difference between connection and compliance, between love and control. You begin to realize that you were never supposed to carry everyone's emotions. The hardest part is grieving the years you spent trying to be perfect. You look back and realize how much life you missed by being watchful, how much joy was postponed because you were too busy being careful. You might feel anger at your parents, at yourself, at the world that taught you that love had to be earned. Let yourself feel it. That anger isn't cruelty, it's grief with a pulse. It's the voice of the child you silence finally speaking again. And then comes the quiet relief. The moment you realize you no longer have to perform to be safe, that you can be loved and still flawed, that you can disappoint people and still belong. The good child inside you begins to exhale. You start allowing yourself to exist without justification, to rest without earning it, to cry without apologizing, to speak without rehearsing. You learn that love, the real kind, doesn't require perfection, it requires presence. You may always carry traces of that old reflex, the instinct to overgive, to smooth things over, to keep everyone comfortable. But now you'll recognize it. You'll pause, you'll ask, what would I do if I wasn't afraid of being unloved? And slowly, you'll start choosing yourself in small ways. You'll let someone else be disappointed. You'll let a mess stay uncleaned. You'll let silence stretch, and you'll realize the world doesn't end when you stop being perfect. The truth is, you were never good because you were pure. You were good because you were scared, and that's okay. That's how children survive. But now you don't need to survive. You can live. You can be honest, messy, complicated. You can have needs and still be worthy. You can take up space without fear. Because love isn't something you earn by disappearing. It's something that grows when you finally show up as yourself. So if you're tired, if you're burned out from holding the world together, if you spent years being the good one, this is your permission to stop. You don't have to prove your worth anymore. The people who truly love you will not leave when you put the mask down. They'll meet you where you are, imperfect, real, and whole. The good child doesn't need to vanish for you to be free. They just need to rest. And maybe that's what healing really is. The day you stop trying to be good and start trying to be whole.